Kenneth Okonkwo demands Nnamdi Kanu's release, seeks political solution. In a passionate critique of Nigeria's justice system, Kenneth Okonkwo, a prominent Nollywood actor turned lawyer and chieftain of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, has renewed calls for the unconditional release of Nnamdi Kanu, the detained leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB. Speaking on Channels Television's Sunrise Daily on October 20, 2025, Okonkwo described Kanu's prolonged incarceration as a total failure of justice and an abuse of legal processes, urging the federal government to pursue a political resolution to the impasse. Kanu, who has been in the custody of the Department of State Services, DSS, since his abduction in Kenya in June 2021, faces terrorism charges at a federal high court in Abuja. What began as a case involving allegations of incitement and Biafra agitation has dragged on for over 4 years, with pre-trial detention now exceeding 7 years, if counting from his initial 2015 arrest and subsequent invasion of his home by Nigerian soldiers. Okonkwo, invoking Section 36 of the 1999 Nigerian Constitution, which guarantees a fair hearing within a reasonable time, lamented that such delays erode public trust and render the maxim, "justice delayed is justice denied," painfully evident. Okonkwo's intervention comes amid escalating protests in Abuja and the southeast, led by figures like human rights activist Omoyele Sowore and Kanu's family, demanding an end to what they call selective injustice. He argued that Kanu's trial has been mired in procedural manipulations, leaving the IPOB leader in solitary-like conditions that no one could endure without losing their sanity. Nobody remains sane to be in jail for more than 7 years while a case is being tried, Okonkwo stated, emphasizing that the government's failure to expedite proceedings or drop charges, despite lacking substantial evidence, points to a deliberate stalling tactic. At the heart of his plea is a call to reframe Kanu's case as a political one, not a purely criminal matter. "If you do not find anything against this man, release him or reach a political solution," he implored, suggesting dialogue and reconciliation as the path to national healing. This echoes Okonkwo's earlier positions, including a July 2024 interview where he labeled Kanu a political prisoner victimized by ethnic bias, noting that agitating leaders from other regions, like Yoruba activist Sunday Igboho or even rehabilitated Boko Haram members, have received leniency denied to Kanu. "The longer Nnamdi Kanu is in prison, the taller he becomes and the shorter the government becomes," Okonkwo warned, highlighting how the detention fuels unrest, including violent enforcement of sit-at-home orders in the southeast. Okonkwo is far from alone in this advocacy. Southeast governors, Deputy House Speaker Benjamin Kalu, and even former Vice President Atiku Abubakar have repeatedly petitioned President Bola Tinubu for Kanu's release, framing it as essential for regional peace and economic revival. Labour Party's Peter Obi has similarly called for dialogue, while Sowore's recent protests underscore a growing frustration that Kanu's fate is being held hostage by political calculations, allegedly from Southeast elites fearing his influence could upend their careers. Zenith Labour Party's Dan Nwanyanwu echoed this, claiming some regional power brokers secretly back the detention out of fear of Kanu's popularity. Yet the federal government's response remains muted. While Tinubu has granted clemency to high-profile inmates like Mariam Sanda, drawing fresh criticism from Okonkwo as an act of incompetence that undermines deterrence against corruption, no such gesture has extended to Kanu. Critics like Osas Omo argue that releasing Kanu would erode the rule of law, citing his alleged role in funding IPOB violence and inflammatory rhetoric during the 2020 EndSARS protests. Others, however, see the disparity in treatment as evidence of systemic bias, with Okonkwo insisting that true justice demands either a swift trial or negotiated freedom. Okonkwo's demand transcends Kanu's personal plight. It spotlights deeper fissures in Nigeria's federation. The Southeast's agitation for self-determination, symbolized by IPOB's nonviolent origins evolving into enforced compliance amid Kanu's absence, risks escalating if unaddressed. As protests intensify, with voices like Barrister Darlington warning that any harm to Kanu could burn Nigeria, the onus falls on Tinubu's administration to choose between perpetuating division or fostering reconciliation. For Okonkwo, the solution is clear. Treat this as the political emergency it is. We have pleaded that this should be treated as a political issue and settled out politically so that every party will go home in peace, he concluded. Whether the government heeds this call could define not just Kanu's fate, but the trajectory of Nigeria's most volatile fault line. As the actor-politician shared the interview clip on X, amplifying his message to thousands, the conversation shows no signs of fading. Family Writers Press International. Writers.